Welcome to our latest Open Science event, which will explore the intersection of science and sustainability at PMI. To bring about our smoke-free vision, we integrate sustainability in everything we do and create value for society and all our stakeholders. Key to this approach is the need to replace cigarettes with smoke-free products that are scientifically substantiated to be less harmful alternatives for adult smokers who do not quit. In this Open Science session, we learn more about our sustainability strategy and how science enables our transformation. Since our launch in 2020, Open Science has grown from a simple webcast to a must-see, award-winning series, reaching an audience of over 10,000 viewers in over 50 countries. Open Science gives our scientists at PMI and external experts a chance to openly present and discuss topics relating to the research, evolution, and technology behind smoke-free products and their potential impact on tobacco harm reduction, as well as allowing our audience to ask questions about our science. These events come in different formats, from a simple webinar presenting one of our scientists' latest research to a full panel of scientists and guests in front of a live audience, in person and online. Special guests have included experts in respiratory diseases and oncology, covering chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and the public health aspect of smoke-free products. Our past events have also covered a wide range of topics such as our scientific approach and assessment program, our portfolio of smoke-free products, the aerosol composition from these products, and the toxicants we measure within those aerosols, amongst others. As Jennifer and Gizelle offer their perspectives on sustainability and science at PMI in this new Open Science event, we welcome your questions on our Open Science platform, LinkedIn and YouTube during the event, as well as half an hour after it has been aired. We will attempt to answer to as many questions as possible. To allow the conversation to continue, this event will be made available on our website at pmiscience.com, LinkedIn and YouTube for you to revisit. Welcome to Open Science.
So hello and welcome to this Open Science in Brief session where we're discussing sustainability and science. We'll hear from our esteemed guests very, very shortly. But before that, some ground rules. This is a recorded session. You can see this on the Open Science platform, as well as it'll be available on the website, pmiscience.com afterwards. It's going on YouTube and LinkedIn too. So without further ado, let's get to the topic and let's get to our guests. Welcome, Jennifer. Welcome, Gizelle. Thank you very much for joining us.
Nice to be with you.
Nice to be here.
We're going to go into, a little bit of a presentation shortly, but I think first and foremost, I want to come to you first, Jennifer. What does sustainability mean to you and maybe the company as well, in hindsight?
Thank you, Suki, for that question, and I'm very happy to be here. I know that our company has been organizing these events, Open Science, for a while, and I think that it makes so much sense for us to be together today because there's so many synergies and so many connections between sustainability and science. And I guess this is how I understand it. There's so much opportunity for innovation and to understand how to build a better planet and a better society based on understanding better what are the challenges that we have at hand and how is it that we can best resolve them. And actually that doesn't differ so much from how PMI understands sustainability, really. The way that we think about it is to look deeply into what are the impacts that our company creates simply by existing, and in a very candid way, acknowledge them and allocate our resources to address them in the most comprehensive way we can, so that we can move into a place where the impact, the overall impact that we have in society can be a positive one.
And talking about societal impact, obviously science has a massive impact in terms of what Philip Morris is doing with its products these days. Where do you see what you do and how that fits in with sustainability as well?
Well, I think we can even look broader than that. Science is going to be the core of solving all of the large societal problems that the world faces today. When we look at PMI, the largest problem we have is that we have a large proportion of people smoking some of the most harmful products that there are available, despite the fact that from public health and decades of science, we know that many of those people will get sick and die from that habit. So being able to use science, use technology to really address the largest problem the company has is a way that we can actually look to how can the company transform and how can we be sustainable into the future with products that are less harmful and still address what is driving the smoking behavior in the first place.
So, Jenny, if you can just go into how you actually define your strategy for the company, can you tell us how that works?
Thanks so much, Suki. I think I have some slides that can help me answer that question. But before talking about sustainability, what I think is really important to explain better what does the sustainability strategy respond to is what is the purpose of our company. I think purpose has become over the years a little bit of a buzzword, and companies and different organizations have used it or abused it in different ways. Now, in the case of our company, A, I think it's really important, and B, I think it has a little bit of structure and accountability because our statement of purpose is actually coming from our board. That is the highest authority of our organization. And the importance of this purpose is threefold. First, it gives clarity to our organization internally in terms of where to allocate resources, what are the priorities, what do we want to achieve, what is it that we're after in terms of creating a smoke-free future. It gives clarity to external stakeholders, shareholders, investors, public health, government officials, in explaining what do we want to achieve, how our company is changing, what kind of radical transformation we're undergoing and with what commitment. And then last but not least, if you read our statement of purpose, you can see that something that is very unique to PMI is that our statement of purpose doesn't not only say what is our goal, what we want to achieve, but it also acknowledges in a very humble way that in order for us to achieve our goals, we need to work with different parts of society and the important role that they play. And actually, it goes further in a very explicit way to recognize different parts of society, like public health, like governments and regulators, like consumers, like our own employees, and how relevant and actually paramount it is that they play their part in order for us to create the change that we're seeking to achieve. So with that, what is our approach to sustainability? And so we think in sustainability, I would say, in two ways, and we break it in four. First, and I guess this is common to many companies, we think about sustainability in a way to mitigate risk, to align with regulation and compliance, to improve operational efficiency and use resources in a more savvy way that is more mindful that natural resources are scarce. But then also from a competitive advantage standpoint, we really think about sustainability as an opportunity for innovation, for technology, for growth, and ultimately to give ourselves a sense of purpose, to create value and to have impact on society. Companies are societal constructs that are tolerated because they serve a purpose. And so actually connecting that with sustainability is very important for PMI. Now, how do you define and how do you decide where to put the focus when sustainability is about so many different topics, so many different things? And so what we do is an exercise that is common by any company that is serious about sustainability, that is called materiality, where we assess from an inward and outward perspective what is the impact that different ESG issues can have both on our business continuity and also on society, and then rank and rate these different topics to establish what is actually material. Where is it that PMI can invest resources that if they create change, it can have a big impact on society and the environment. So what you can see is that at the very, very top, the most important point, the most important topic, and this is the core of our strategy, is the health impacts of the product, and addressing this in a comprehensive way is really our priority. Now, close by, you can see that tackling climate change, the way that we commercialize our products, responsible marketing practices are also very, very important for us. And also, besides and beyond that, innovation in wellness and healthcare, thinking about what happens after, beyond smoke-free products, allows our organization and our stakeholders to understand that smoke-free products are not the end goal, but that a company that continues to invest in talent and in innovation and in growth can think actually beyond that and horizons that go beyond. So how do we approach them is ultimately our strategy. And what you can see is that we have 4 strategies to tackle the impacts of our products and 4 strategies to tackle the impacts of our operations. What do I mean by that? 4 strategies to tackle what we sell, 4 strategies to tackle how we produce what we sell. In terms of our impact, to tackle the impacts of our products, we have 3 strategies that are focused on social impact. One of them is to purposefully phase out cigarettes. One of them is to maximize the benefits of smoke-free products in a way that minimizes unintended consequences. And the last one is to seek positive impact in wellness and healthcare, besides and beyond smoke-free products. And the last one is of environmental nature. It's about focusing on the environmental risk of our products, minimizing it, and hopefully creating products that are not hindering the environment. Now, in our operations, we're focusing on human rights, on ensuring that our supply chain, besides and beyond our direct operations, have a good quality of life. Looking into an empowered workforce, diversity and inclusion is of priority, and then naturally, tackling climate change and preserving nature and biodiversity are also priorities. So with that, what I would say is that what I have showed you is how do we calibrate and define our priorities. Once they're established, the strategies we have in place to tackle them. But importantly, connected to that, we also have forward-looking targets. We have 11 targets in our 2025 strategy in a roadmap, and to measure in a very objective and quantifiable way progress towards achieving these goals, we have our sustainability index that is composed of 19 KPIs. Some of these KPIs are actually measuring progress towards our transformation to phase out cigarettes. And these 19 KPIs, the sustainability index, represents 30% of our long-term compensation.
So yeah, thanks for that, Jenny. In terms of the product strategy as well, the product harm and reducing harm strategy, what is that within where you sit and from a scientific perspective?
Well, I think there's 2 pieces of it, which is the products themselves, which we have a team that's really focused on making sure that we continue to improve the product and innovate them to address a lot of the consumer important pieces. But I think the other important part is assessing them, because if we don't have scientifically substantiated products with information that we can communicate to consumers, I'm not positive that smokers are actually going to switch to these products. And it's really important when you're looking from a scientific perspective at how you're going to have an impact at the population level, that you don't only have just products and good products and science to support them, but that you're able to actually have satisfying products for consumers that will actually allow them to stop smoking cigarettes altogether and switch away to something that's better for them. So when you think about that, it's really this kind of, you need to find the right balance between driving down risks, driving down harms, but also maximizing the appeal to adult smokers. And in today's day and age, we're at a spot where adult smokers are smoking despite the fact that smoking causes harm to the body, not because they don't know it does. So you need to have products that, despite the fact they're doing something they know is harmful, they're willing to make the change, and we need to make it as easy as possible, because behavioral change, no matter what it is hard. And I think that's where coming up with really a portfolio of products that can go to different consumers and address the needs that they have can maximize the number of people who move away. But at the core of all of these products is one fundamental scientific principle: no smoke, no combustion. When you think about combustion, a cigarette is a really easy to use product. There's tobacco, you light it on fire, there's no effort from the consumer to cause that to continue to burn. But as the tobacco is burning, it is emitting over 6,000 chemicals. And with every cigarette that person smokes, they're inhaling almost 500 billion solid particles into your lungs. So you can think about the inflammation, the irritation of solid particles, and then you mix that together with toxic chemicals. I mean, it's really the perfect solution for morbidity and mortality. And this is where, if you can eliminate combustion, eliminate the consumption of a fuel source, you can actually have an impact there. You can prevent or not even generate those solid particles at all. And you can reduce the level and number of toxicants that a person's going to be exposed to. And this is where the fundamental no smoke comes in. We're not talking about no nicotine. In fact, nicotine is extremely important. We know and have known for years that's one of the pieces of the ritual that keeps people smoking. So if we can deliver that nicotine, but in a way that exposes people to lower levels of toxicants and without the solid particles, we can probably move people away from cigarettes at a rate that's never been seen before, which is important because disease doesn't happen overnight. A person who starts smoking today is not going to die of a smoking-related disease tomorrow, and probably not for years. So the faster we can get people away from these products, the sooner at a societal level, you'll start to see an impact in the reductions of harm to the population as a whole.
Well, that's interesting, Gizelle. I think in terms of then the product itself, the science involved with developing this product, there's a lot of questions around, is it, a reduced harm product? What is it about these new products that are better than the alternatives? There's a lot of sort of doubt amongst that. Can you just give us an overview of what your thoughts are around that?
Well, I think we're moving into a new space. And with the moving into a new space, especially into a scientific new space, skepticism is going to be the very first thing you face, no matter whether you're into the tobacco industry or not. So I think skepticism is good and healthy, but we have to then start looking at what is the data we can put out there, what is the evidence and approach to assessing the science to be able to address the skepticism and put scientific evidence out there that really demonstrates the value of these products. And I think we talk about it from a public health standpoint. And the important thing when you're looking at a public health standpoint is the whole population, those who use tobacco as well as those who don't. And when you look at that, you really have to start looking at two key components of it. One is going to be, what is the individual risk? For a smoker who starts using the product, what is the risk to them or the reduction in risk that the new products offer? Then the second piece is who actually uses the product. Because if nobody uses the product, the best product in the world will have no impact at the population level. But at the same time, if the people who start using these products aren't the intended audience, if they're not smokers who would otherwise continue to smoke, you're also not going to have the benefit you're intending to have. So you really have to bring the two pieces together and put the science on, do these products have the potential to reduce the risk to the individual who switches to them? And then who are the people who are using the products at the end and how many of them? Because the faster you can move smokers away from cigarettes and the fewer non-smokers who start, that is where you have the opportunity to have the biggest impact on the population.
Gizelle, in terms of the evidence that you have for sustainability, can you show us some real life examples? What is going on?
Yeah, I think that what is really important in terms of real life examples is those topics that are unique to us. So when you think about our products and the impact of our products, these are strategies that are really bespoke to PMI. The products are only ours. Assessing the impacts of their products is only our exercise. Putting programs in place and putting metrics in place to measure impact and decide what to do is really unique to us. That's one part of our strategy, addressing the impact of the product and everything that entails. The other part is the operational impact, and perhaps here it's less bespoke. Any company that has operations will have factories, will use natural resources, and therefore have initiatives that to an extent are similar. Like, for example, tackling climate change. Like, for example, reducing or preventing human rights issues. So in certain areas, you can very easily compare in terms of evidence, in terms of transparency, how PMI is performing vis-a-vis other companies. We're very strict in terms of setting targets that are accompanied with strategy. So we would never say, for example, oh, we're going to be carbon neutral by 2025 without attaching to that a very clear strategy and concrete metrics to explain to the world how is it that we're going to achieve that, and explain to the world how much progress are we making to get there. You would never find that PMI would say, oh, we're going to be net zero by 2040 without exactly saying how is it that we're going to reduce and decarbonize our entire value chain, especially in direct operations where we have less control. So all of that you can read in our integrated report with a degree of granularity that to many perhaps would be very boring and tedious, but exactly to the point of skepticism and evidence, we prefer to take that route of overdoing it and have that extra transparency that seeds no doubt and leaves no room for greenwashing. And with our products, it's the same. So we're very candid about acknowledging that when it comes to sustainability, naturally or inevitably, you will have moments of trade-offs, because in the spirit of science, in the spirit of innovation and technology, you don't get it right 100% at the first attempt. And so from the outset, our priority has been to develop better products for our consumers from a health risk profile. It was only when we managed to achieve that we started expanding this and thinking, wait, besides and beyond thinking about health impact, we should also think about environmental impact. And so it's really with the different iterations, generation after generation, that we're investing in technology, in R&D to understand how to best minimize the environmental impacts of our products from a circularity standpoint. So all the way from the design phase, how are we designing, how are we putting these devices together, which materials we're using, and also at the end of life. Okay, to the extent that we cannot maximize recyclability or reusability, what are we going to do when we put it apart? Where is it going to go? How do we reverse engineer all of this? And then year on year report on what kind of progress we're making to improve it and maximize it.
So a lot of work going on in that respect. And to be honest, similar for you as well, Gizelle, epidemiology is always kind of levied at you. When are we going to see the results, the real world evidence, the data that's coming through? What can you tell us about that?
Well, I think data is one of those things that grows with time. Evidence sits on the evidence you have today. And I know that one of the favorite words that we hear is bias. You know, the evidence is biased by the industry. I think one of the things we also have to realize is evidence is biased by what we know today. I can't design a scientific study using the information I will learn tomorrow. It will be designed based on the space we're in today. So the one thing that we can expect is that the science will evolve, and some of the premises for studies we do today will actually prove to us that our premise was wrong. And we therefore have to adapt, learn from it, and really approach it differently the next time. Some of the things you think about, an epidemiological study will take us probably, I think we had a recent paper come out that says the lag time between reducing cigarettes at a population level and seeing the impact on lung cancer on average is 21 years.
Right.
Will the products we put into a study today be available in 21 years? How do you design a study that can account for the fact that not only does it take 21 years to see what's happening on a societal public health impact, but how do we design that study to account for changes in what's in the environment, what products are available? I mean, the speed at which products are changing today, it's not like in the past, cigarettes existed for 100 years and the way people got nicotine was to light tobacco on fire and inhale smoke. Today, the products that were available 5 years ago aren't available today. And the ones that will be available in 10 years, we can't even fathom what they will be today.
So given all that, how do you guys keep a handle on all of this? So, if products are developing at that speed, your strategy has to develop at a similar speed, I presume.
I think it's about being nimble and a lot of agility. And I think it's what I was saying to you before. When it comes to sustainability, there's always trade-offs. And if let's separate ourselves from the topic of conversation that we're having now and take another example, like energy. So there's a lot of conversation about moving away from fossil fuels into renewable. And in the surge of alternative sources of energy that are less polluting for the environment, that are less intense from a CO2 emission perspective. People venture into solar energy, people venture into wind energy, in creating these big wind collectors of energy. You're also creating collaterals in relation to the flora and the fauna of the area. Birds that are flying by that are not understanding what are these big windmills doing. And that's not untrue, it is true. And you need to pause and wonder, well, is this better for the environment or worse? You're killing all the birds that are flying around. So you're also reducing fossil fuel consumption. And the answer is not black and white, unfortunately. The answer is we need to make progress and actually be able to hold space for the time at which we are evolving in the search for transforming and changing the paradigm, knowing that the first solution, it can be improved. And I think that, yes, it's about being nimble, it's about being agile, it's also about being humble and recognizing that this is progress, but this is not final, that we continue to innovate, that we continue to research, that we continue to improve. And I think that this is why, if you look at our R&D investment, about 99% of our R&D investment has been allocated to smoke-free products, besides and beyond smoke-free products, from a health perspective, also from an environmental standpoint, how to make better products holistically. This is not just in the year 2022, but actually for the last 5 years, our spend in R&D has been consistently 99% allocated there. Why do we continue to invest in R&D if the products are already there? It's because we know there is room for improvement. We can do better, we can learn more. And this is really key. It talks about who we are as a company and who we want to become.
I suppose then, Jennifer, you're actually saying that Giselle's responsible for that speed of change because of the research that you do and the fact that you're developing programs all the time.
I would say, you know who's responsible for the speed of change? I think society and the consumer.
That's true.
And if we don't put them at the core, we're going to put out a product, and we have in the past, less chemicals, it's got to be better. Every smoker will want this product, and you put it out there. Our very first initiatives in that area were 100% science-driven and 100% consumer failures. You have to really go back to that equation of it has to reduce the risk to the individual, but it has to be satisfying enough that a smoker will give up cigarettes for it. And whenever we find a pain point, how are we going to address it? And sometimes those pain points will be even this stuff on the sustainability side. Do consumers want products that don't have a plan of what they're going to do in the post-consumer space? People are becoming more aware of the impacts they're having as well. And that's where this becomes a company initiative, and you won't look at a single department within the organization where science and sustainability isn't at the core of what they're thinking and how they're addressing the problems they're facing today.
Yeah.
So it has to be joined up thinking. Just to conclude, in terms of final thoughts, anything that you want to kind of add to what we've already spoken about today, that's kind of what you're dealing with. Climate change obviously is at a pace right now, so you've got a lot of work to do in the future, haven't you?
I think that if you ask me about concluding remarks and what we haven't talked about, something that I also think is very important, and that again, it's a common ground for science and for sustainability in terms of progress, is that many times the kind of change that we're seeking to achieve is change that happens at system level. And this is a little bit what Gizelle was talking about. How fast can you go and how far can you go? It's not contingent on one individual. It's not even contingent on one company. It's really about changing a paradigm. And for that, it's so important that you recognize the role that different stakeholders can play into creating this system change. It's about acknowledging that more than 1 billion people smoke today, and to actually get people to not smoke anymore is not just about PMI, making better products. The same way that in order to reduce climate change or tackle it properly, it's not just about one oil company moving away from fossil fuels. You need to change supply and demand measures at a system level. You need the regulator, government officials, policy, the scientific community, public health, consumers to really understand and have that want. And so for me, in terms of what else is needed or what else is important, is that awareness of not only the power, but the need of multiple stakeholders coming together, recognizing what is the role that they play, and in doing that, working together to row in the same direction.
Gizelle, you?
I think when you think about science, for me, one of the easiest things to do is not change. To stay where you are in a world where you know what the outcomes of every step you could possibly take are. When you look at it from what we're doing on public health, we could allow cigarettes to stay there and we could continue to try and reduce them through other ways, get people to quit, keep people from starting. These are huge and important initiatives. But what we also have to recognize is if we stay where we are today, there's 1 billion people smoking and 1 billion people who are going to continue to smoke. And we have to admit, we know what's going to happen to them. We know what happens with years of exposure to high levels of toxicants. They're going to develop disease, they're going to get sick, and a number of them are going to die from smoking-related diseases. So we have to not be afraid of what we don't know today, but really embrace it in a way where we're making progress, even if it's a small step forward, paying attention, being, as Jenny said, being humble, being okay with maybe not getting it 100%, not getting it perfect, and admitting the errors, pivoting, and then improving from there so that we can actually do something, because the numbers that are at stake, 1 billion smokers, they're not small, and we can't just ignore them to make progress on the other side.
Thank you very much for your time, guys. It's been a really interesting conversation. So I think the word of the day is change, the word of the day is transition. The speed at which we're going right now with sustainability and science, there's a lot of work to do for the guys here, but thank you very much for your time. You can of course see this on pmiscience.com, as well as get some more information on pmi.com/sustainability, LinkedIn and YouTube, of course, and other platforms as well. But for now, that's Open Science, sustainability and science. Thank you.